Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of the On24's B2B Marketing Chat series, where we sit down with marketers all over Asia Pacific. We dig into innovations, trends, what's working, what's not, and it's our time as marketers just to grab a cup of coffee, sit back, relax, and talk shop. My name is Tim Johnston. I'm the Head of Marketing here at On24 for the Asia Pacific region, and I am delighted to be your host, and thank you so much for being here today. There are a few of you in today, so let's have a great session together. Now, today's session, we have actually invited the Asia Pacific sales and marketing leads over at Drift in Asia Pacific. And if you haven't heard of Drift, Drift is a conversational marketing platform, a very great piece of tech that marketers and salespeople can use to help us improve our conversion rates and drive more interest and conversion off our website. But we've invited, this is unique, we've invited both a sales and a marketing leader here today, and we're going to be talking about sales and marketing alignment in the B2B space and how the two functions can come together, better together, and ultimately help conquer our growth goals. So joining me in conversation, we've got Ronan Bray, who is the Head of Marketing over at Drift. Welcome, Ronan, all the way over from Perth.
Thanks, Martin.
And we've got Adam Malone, who's the sales lead here based in Sydney. So gents, welcome to the show, and thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Super excited.
Awesome. Looking forward to a tame conversation today. There won't be too much heat. Now, much love. So it's not often that we get a chance to have both sales and marketing here together in the same webinar. So I'm excited to have some fun with this one, get your view on what good alignment looks like, what you guys are doing over at Drift, and help guide our audience today to that oasis of great sales and marketing alignment. So why don't we jump in and have some fun with this one? Given that Adams is potentially the odd one out here, I'm looking at our audience list today. There's a lot of marketers in the crowd. Let's just tie our hands behind our back, give him a cop, give it a free hit to the chin, and let's hear a question from you. Let's get it off our chest. All right. What is the one thing that marketers do that you completely disagree with? Give it to us straight.
So I do feel very singled out here as the only salesperson, so please be gentle. But I think it has to be fake metrics, right? Fake KPIs. So often when I've worked with marketers in the past, not Ronan, a lot of people on the call, they'll develop metrics for themselves that don't quite align with what the sales team needs. So the KPIs for the marketing team will all show green. It'll be like, we're hitting our targets, we're 100%, we're ahead of our goal. But as a salesperson, you kind of look at that and you go, that's really good. That's great that you're hitting your targets. But what I'm seeing in my pipeline just isn't what you're telling me. So I think it has to be that kind of little bit of marketing magic that allows people to say, I'm hitting my targets, even though you're not hitting yours.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to get excited over some vanity metrics. I've got to say, we are all guilty of it, but we're trying. We're on a path for improvement. Ronan, I'm going to give you a chance to return fire, though. It's only fair, right? If we're giving the salesperson the mic here to vent and get things off his chest, what's the opposite for you, mate?
Well, I can't actually disagree with Adam on that as well. And at the same time, like you say, Tim, I think being one for vanity metrics myself, but I actually started off in a hybrid role of sales marketing. So I definitely have that appreciation that if the quality of sort of leads or those metrics don't actually translate into opportunities and deals, then they don't really mean much. I think it's the good old friction point between sales and marketing, that sales are saying there's not enough leads or quality leads coming through. And then from a marketing point of view, and I've definitely had this frustration before, that there's not enough action on the actual leads that are coming through or what that actual response is. So I look at everything that I do sort of as a marketer as to what that customer experience is. And if that first experience for them in, say, submitting an inquiry or having that first conversation is not a positive one, then I see that as all wasted sort of effort and spend that I've put in to get that lead in the door.
Yeah, absolutely. We both have our part to play in this equation. So let's talk about, I mean, the last 2 years we've seen phenomenal changes just in the way that we do business. But I'm wondering if there's been any changes in the way that we, as a sales and marketing function, align. Has the pandemic or this hybrid world or the way that we now work, has that changed the way that you guys are aligning at Drift? Have you seen any changes? And I know, Ronan, you probably, you're fairly new into the role, but, maybe Adam, if you could comment, have you seen any changes over the last few years as to the way that sales and marketing work together there?
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk about the sales side of things first, and then how we work together. I think, the role is field sales, right? So a lot of the time in the past, pre-COVID, the role involved meeting people, going and having chats with them, being in person, face-to-face, a lot of engagement. And I think that transition over the last couple of years, we talk about this transition to digital, we talk about this transition to remote and everything like that, digital first. But at the end of the day, the people I work with, the people who come in through Ronan's channel and they eventually meet with me, they're still people, right? They still want to engage and they still want to meet me on a person-to-person level. So trying to find ways to maintain the same or a similar level of engagement with customers, despite sometimes never meeting them face-to-face, I think that's been the real challenge that we've worked out how to sort of address. Obviously, there's different ways to do this. There's different ways to engage with those customers. Just been quite interesting to work through.
Yeah, and I mean, Ronan, like you would have seen some in previous roles even, but any comments to the last couple of years and maybe how you've worked in previous businesses?
Yeah, sure. So I think, like, as marketers, you're looking at different channels that you can explore to generate that sort of awareness or that lead generation. And I think one that's obviously really suffered during the pandemic has been events. So looking at where can we then make up for what we're missing out on there? What sort of new channels exist, or are we just going to top up more into our existing sort of channels? And I think that's brought a lot around that sort of digital transformation that companies that may have previously been a bit adverse to it, adopting that, have really looked at that now as it is a crucial part of any sales marketing operation. And I think that's been the beauty of Drift. I mean, that during that time, I was on a customer end in the process of implementing Drift, where I actually met Adam. Obviously really got along with him as a salesperson. I thought the idea of us then being able to actually work together on that would be a perfect sort of fit. So yeah, more of that sort of focus into digital marketing and really highlighting the essentials of having the right sort of website, your CRM and a marketing automation up and running, and putting more focus into that.
Yeah. I think that all makes sense. And I watch a lot of webinars, I attend a lot of conferences, and I do hear the subject of marketing and sales alignment often evangelized, and companies stand up saying, we're in an oasis and this is what's happening. I'm not so sure it's the reality in Asia Pacific, but many organizations flaunt this, but I'm not sure everyone has got it completely right. I'm curious to hear from both of you, and maybe we start with you, Ronan, but what are the good characteristics? How do we know if we've got it right? What does the good characteristics look like?
I personally start by looking at the sort of foundational pieces that you have in place, looking at them in terms of like, what's your always on sales marketing experience and automation and optimization around that. And I break that into 4 sort of key areas, one of which is your website, which is obviously core. And I think everyone's got that pretty down pat in terms of appreciating the importance of that now. Your CRM, so managing the actual leads that come through, your marketing automation that then plugs into that, so that you can really start. I think I've seen in a lot of companies, they have, say, a CRM and have leads coming through, but they're just sort of sitting there in a database and nothing's happening. So if that lead comes through and the sales team identify now is not the right time, at least putting them onto, say, a nurture and bringing them back into that sort of experience later on. And then the 4th component that I truly see as essential now is your conversational sales and conversational marketing play. That having all those pieces working together irrespective of what you're doing at the top of the funnel to drive that interest to your website, that can always sort of be working. And then you can start tweaking optimization and automation around that as well.
Yeah. I think you're right on that. From your perspective, Adam, do you have a different opinion as to what good alignment looks like with you guys? Like, I'm keen to hear your thoughts as well. Like, what are the good characteristics of the relationship that you guys have built?
Yeah, I'm quite opinionated about it, in case you couldn't tell. I think what works is based on two things. I think the first thing is being able to develop a transparent relationship between sales and marketing, breaking down walls. Like, I know we talk about it a lot, but genuinely being transparent and saying, we're working to your KPIs, I'm working towards my KPIs. At the end of the day, we're one revenue team that needs to bring in customers. And so aligning who we're trying to bring in, and Ronan and I will talk about this weekly. These are the customers that these particular campaigns are generating. These don't quite fit the ICP, therefore we should change these campaigns in such and such a way. And I'll rely on Ronan and defer to Ronan to do the right thing, to bring in, slightly different leads that exactly match who we're looking for. And I think, by Ronan aligning his success to what I see as success, which is booked meetings with qualified customers and ultimately revenue, that's the thing that drives the business. We're able to work as one cohesive team. I think the other thing that's really important as well is blurring the boundaries between marketing and sales, right? Like, the traditional world is that marketing will deliver leads, sales will take over, marketing will say they're your problem now. And the way that Ronan and I have started working together is that I'm doing a lot more work at the top of the funnel now. If any of you, and I see people who I've worked with in the past on our attendee list, if any of you are looking at my LinkedIn, I'll put out videos, I'll put out a bunch of demand generation activity that happens at the very top of the funnel to drive more leads to our website, to drive interest. And I think it's the obligation of salespeople now to be working more at the top of the funnel to help driving leads to the website. It shouldn't just be the marketer's responsibility. Conversely, marketers should come further down the funnel, see what works, in a sales conversation when customers are more likely to be, later on in their journey. Because if there's things that they can do to help push that customer towards the sales team. So having nice blurred boundaries between the two and really, working hand in hand, that's the thing that I think helps to bring in more customers and ultimately help everyone hit their goals.
Yeah,
I think one characteristic of that as well is where I feel like we're in a luxury sort of position that we are marketing and selling to sales and marketing people. And Adam often brings me into a sort of meeting with a customer to look at what their sort of marketing tech stack is and make suggestions around that as a marketer. Like, what are we doing at Drift and what could you possibly be doing as well to advance your results? So I'm getting involved in meetings like that with Adam. And at the same time, like he said, he's helping me out at the top of the funnel with more of that brand awareness and engagement piece as well.
Yeah. I really like that idea of where you can go up the funnel, help with the market. It's everyone's responsibility to inject brand and marketing to our audiences. But also as a marketer, just get deeper into that funnel. Stay away from the top. I mean, we know we're safe up there, but let's go deeper in and have a look at what we're producing. And I certainly agree with you. You can learn a lot from going deeper through that process. So let's talk a little bit about metrics. And besides the obvious one, I mean, it sounds like you guys are well aligned to revenue and what campaigns you're running from a marketing perspective are influencing revenue. How do you guys agree on what quality looks like? Because I think a lot of marketers struggle with this. It's always that, sales saying it's not good stuff. Give me some more, but none of that stuff, right? So tell me a little bit about how you guys agree on quality. I think you've mentioned some things around ICP or ideal customer profiles, but tell us a little bit more about that alignment around the quality piece.
I think from my side, when I first joined back in December, sorry, Adam, first I want to understand, what is our current sales process? I don't want to come in and then start mapping marketing to a process that is completely different because I think as salespeople, you're not going to do it. It needs to be what's natural and easy for you. So the other way around, that I'm going to map marketing to that. And as part of that process, understanding from the sales team, like, who do you want to be speaking to? What are the sort of data points that we can pull out of this? So we ran a really collaborative sort of exercise between myself and the whole sales team to understand those sort of data points, and even looking at things like technographic data. So for us, if they have a CRM or marketing automation tool already running, it's a good sign to us that they've got the sort of budget to support, they've got the processes, they've got the people and the understanding and appreciation of that role in a sales marketing function. So therefore, let's go and compile a database or a prospect list of companies that match that. And then how does that align with the customers that we already have, both here and globally as well? And then compiling that list, and then me presenting that back to the sales team to actually go through and say, cool, keep 90% of these and remove these 10 for this reason. And I think as well, like, getting involved in those sales meetings and the discussions, you hear some real gems in there as to what their challenges and pain points are, that I can then bring that back to the top of the funnel in terms of my targeting and ad messaging as well.
Yeah, makes sense. Something to add, Adam?
Yeah, definitely. So I think, we can all look at the standard ICP characteristics and how many employees does a business have, how many numbers of salespeople, etc. I think for me, the thing that is a real winner when it comes to attracting customers to talk to us is what I call intrapreneurs. So people inside a business who are trying to lead a new initiative. It's like your digital pirate kind of thing. People who aren't afraid to see a new market segment that's like going great guns in the United States and other places in the world, starting to take off in APAC. And they're like, this is something that I need to do to run as an initiative to essentially get us towards whatever our goals are, whether it's pipeline goals or revenue goals. So part of that is engagement. I think part of that is being a bit of like an internal leader. And when we talk to customers like that, when Ronan brings those customers to talk to me, they are an absolute pleasure to work with, because it's not just me providing them ideas, it's them challenging me back and saying, these are the targets that I want our business to get to. These are the projects that I want our business to utilize over the next few months. How can you help me do that? And so that, to me, as an ex-consultant, is like a joy to work with, because to me, it's someone who's super engaged, who wants to me to sort of partner with them with their success. And ultimately, it leads to great client relationships. So that's, for me, like one step beyond the ICP to work with.
Yeah, I like the entrepreneur. I'm going to use that one. I like that, and we've got to find more of those. So, look, you guys, haven't been together for that long. It's still a fairly young team, and the launch from the US to Asia Pacific, it's awesome to see you guys growing here. But like, I suppose you've got that benefit of these inherent personalities or processes that exist within some of these older businesses or more mature businesses that you don't have to overcome when you get in. But you guys have the benefit of a clean slate. So I'm keen to hear about some of the tactical strategies that you have to remain aligned, because it's one thing to do it once and go at the start of the year planning, but just keeping that alignment through the year, through the quarter, through the month is so important. So tell us a little bit more about how you guys remain glued together. Ronan, maybe we'll start with you.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think VP of APAC, Chris, we're very lucky to have someone like that sort of leading the way. He's someone who very much encourages collaboration and transparency as well. And yeah, I don't think there's ever a difficult sort of discussion to be had with Chris, and he appreciates sort of both sides from sales and marketing and wants that sort of shared platform and view. Every single Monday we have a team meeting where we'll also tune into some items that have come out of North America from their Friday session. So we have like a Monday metrics where we are looking across sales and marketing. And one thing that we've done as well, like being a sort of a regional team, we've found that some of those sort of target metrics might not necessarily align with what we're doing here. So say the awareness over in North America will be far better than it is here. So we actually look at our own sort of metrics on top of those and see how's that actually pushing down the funnel. One thing I also introduced when I came on was this, I find it's a great tool called Databox for pulling together reporting and dashboards across various different sources. So across all your ad platforms, across Drift itself, your website traffic, searches, and things like that. And I put together a few of these dashboards and made it visible to the entire APAC team. So I think that's one thing, like this sort of addressing any sort of distrust that could eventuate between sales and marketers, that having that open transparency from the start, like I've got nothing to hide here and I want you to look at this information and use this from a sales point of view. I think that works really, really well. But also we use Slack at Drift, and it must be going off like every 5 minutes. So it's constant. Just if you have an idea, put it out there. If you've got some feedback, put it in there. So that communication is really critical as well, particularly I think as we're like a remote first company now. And I'm based over in Perth, and most of our team are in Sydney, and we have one person down in Melbourne. That really helps, having those communication channels.
Yeah, I agree. I think I heard the Slack going off earlier. So collaboration is real time and happening as we speak, I'm sure. Too good. Well, look, it is now time, and I am going to scan for questions through our Q&A. There are a couple coming through right now, which we will switch to in a minute. But we want to hear from you guys as well. So let's push our first poll for today and hear from you guys as to the state of sales and marketing relationships and alignment within your business. Now, don't worry. This is all anonymous and it won't be exposed. We want to hear from you guys. So is it, and I've got a couple of analogies here, but are we happily married? Are you working well with your marketing team? You're completely aligned with your sales and marketing functions, just humming. Are you in a kind of a dating phase where you're working together? It's kind of working, but you're not sure you're committed to the same path. Single, ready to mingle and working in maybe separate single silos, or are you completely divorced and it's just not working? It's not happening for you, and that's a tough place to be. So pop your poll responses in, and we'll get to that in just a minute. But talking to the audience members that are maybe finding themselves in that dysfunctional or divorce setting, it's not a good place to be. We've all been there, where you're headbutting constantly with sales around ideas, lead quality, conversion rates. It can be counterproductive and not a very pleasant place to work as well. But either of you got any ideas, or what are the first steps that somebody should take if they're finding themselves in that situation where things just aren't working with that sales and marketing alignment? Any thoughts from either of you?
Oh, is this for us? I thought it was...
I think from my perspective, it's part of it is it might even be around realigning what your goals are, right? So if the goals and the KPIs that people are working towards, what they're targeted on, what they're metriced on, are not aligned, then you'll have people working towards different purposes. So, like I said before, having marketing and sales as part of one revenue team with aligned goals is the easiest way to get people to work together, because they're kind of working towards the same thing rather than working across purposes. I think the other thing as well, Ronan and I will meet once or twice a week to make sure that what I'm providing him as a salesperson and what he's providing me as a marketer are kept up to date. And that means that we can make frequent course corrections to the work that we do together. So we don't diverge and then, a month later go, what are you doing? What are you doing? So having those frequent touch points and making sure that, I'm giving him what he needs. He often reminds me of things I've forgotten, and vice versa. We're working in a pretty open and collaborative relationship that allows us to not place any fault or any blame on each other, and instead just focus on helping each other to meet our respective goals. So that's kind of some of the things that I would do. But Ronan, I don't know if you have any other thoughts.
No, I couldn't agree more with that. And for me as well, I want to see that, like, not only as a team that we're hitting our sort of targets, but individually for the sales team as well. Obviously, they're quite motivated for their own reasons as well, but I want to ensure that they're actually hitting those. And if I've played a role in actually helping that, it's a nice feeling to have.
Yeah, it's a very valid point. If you're gonna win at the back, you win together, right? And you got to make sure that if you're celebrating at the front, you're celebrating for the right reasons, and that celebration is correlating to success for our sales counterparts as well. So let's have a look at the poll. So we've got a few in this sort of, we're dating, we're talking, we've got a bit of alignment. We're talking, at least we're talking, right? It's heading in the right direction. But interesting to see that nobody's really nailed this, right? And it's an ongoing piece. We can't just roll out something at the start of the year and think that it's going to stick throughout. It requires constant work, constant relationship building, constant communication and collaboration. So looks a lot of people are sitting in that dating sort of phase. There are a couple of very honest people, 20% of the audience in that sort of single, we don't talk to each other, and completely divorced, we don't want to talk to each other, which is interesting to see. Thanks for your honesty there, and hopefully today's session gives you some confidence to help rework and rebuild some of these relationships we have with our counterparts. Now, before I jump back in, there was a question here around just involvement in each other's planning processes. I think this is a really good question here from Jessica that, I often think about this as well, because we have our own processes. We have, to develop our plans, and often, yes, we align to a number, but often we'll get to a place where we'll produce these great campaigns and these ideas, and we'll get to the point where let's showcase it to sales. I'm curious to know from you, Ronan, how involved the sales team at Drift with your plans, and vice versa. How does marketing come into the sales plans, and what does that involvement process look like between in each other's planning systems?
I think extremely involved. We have quarterly business reviews and then quarterly planning as well. So looking back over the past quarter, what worked well, what could we have done better, and what's coming next type thing. And so we do that collaboratively as a whole team. So it's not just say me sitting with my manager in North America, senior marketer, to give them feedback. This is within region, and it's all done together. I had my first one with the team very recently, having only joined back in December. I found it really, really enjoyable. That having that sort of open, transparent feedback and acknowledging as well, things that were done in marketing, this did not work. Why was that? What else could we be doing? I think, again, understanding what the sort of sales process is from the start and who they actually want to be speaking to, and building a marketing program around that, having that sort of alignment. But that could always change as well. We've had customers come in from different industries like building and solar and companies like that. So then we start saying, okay, should we start looking at that as a sort of focus for us? And should I put a campaign together around that? And how would that sort of work relative to the current deals that you're working on as well?
Yeah. I think that's good advice. And one of the things you're talking about earlier was this idea of more leads. I think it was you or Adam mentioned maybe in the first question, but this idea of more, we always gravitate to this concept of either when we're faced with big lofty goals, or if we're faced with a problem, we always go to this, we need more, and quickly, let's find more leads and push them through the funnel. That's often the easy thing to do. Well, in some cases, but it's usually the first response. What about the second response, which is a conversion lever? How do we find better conversion tactics and help leads progress through the funnel more effectively? I'm curious, how you guys manage that conversation and overcome this need for more and balance it with, well, let's try to work on our conversion rates. Do you guys have any thoughts on that, or is there conversations in play around that?
I mean, I think from my perspective, and this definitely falls into Ronan's camp, but it falls definitely into the Drift camp as well, right? So personalization of the entire sales process is where we see the most success. If we're delivering the same spiel, the same campaigns to the same groups of people, and we're not actively segmenting based on who their personas are, what they're interested in, what activities they've worked with us on, what content they've read, etc., then we're not actually going to be delivering targeted messages towards people. And I think that extends as well, not only through the website when that customer eventually converts, but also through to me. So if I can see from Ronan which campaigns they've visited, if I can see through Drift how they converted, all of these kinds of things, this gives me a far better way to actually convert that customer, not just from a lead to an MQL, but through eventually to being a new customer. So I think personalization at every step, from very top of the funnel through the sales process, is one of the major things that helps customers traverse through the funnel. And that's regardless of business, drift, etc. It's delivering the kind of experience that a buyer actually wants to receive.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, spot on. Like a case that I could recall a few years back was Telstra running marketing into regional Australia to boost their sort of customer bases there. And what they had found after sort of an extensive process, and I imagine a lot of money, was that they then went around and took photos in these local regional towns and actually used that in their advertising for that specific segment that they were advertising to, and their conversion just boosted massively. And I think that's a really good sort of sign of, personalization and something that becomes relatable. Like when I joined, a lot of our sort of advertising in region, we only had a few sort of campaigns that was more of a sort of blanket approach, and had things in there like, North American or American spelling, US spelling, rather than, Australian. And a lot of our sort of colloquialisms and slang, like not leveraging that to what is, relatable as an Australian part of the company as well. So now we've got that to, I think, around 48 different sub-segments of advertising, that the messaging for each of that is completely personalized and localized for that, and the experience as well, that when they say click into that, they're taken onto a Drift conversational landing page where a chat can be running there, or even Adam can jump straight into that conversation and start talking to them then. So yeah, that whole play on localization and personalization as much as possible.
Cool. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I think we all focused on driving better personalization with our marketing. So I think that's a great way to drive better conversion as well. Cool. Let's talk about Drift for a moment as well, because you guys talk to a lot of sales and marketing teams just naturally through your product offering. How are you seeing your customers maybe using something like Drift to drive better quality? Can you share some examples?
Yeah, I mean, I work with both sales teams and marketing teams, and both of them will use Drift collaboratively, but also differently as well. So the kinds of things that some of my customers in region will use Drift for, not just the bot, it's the entirety of the platform. So one of the things that I love advising sales teams to use, because it's not just the bot, is use the video functionality. Send out personalized messages to people via video through LinkedIn, through email, through other places, and engage on a more personalized basis with your customer. People will skim through emails. It comes across as very boring. It's just text on a page. But if you actually get in front of a customer and you say, "Hi, Tim, I'm Adam, your account manager. Love to meet with you over the next couple of weeks and learn a little bit more about your business," that suddenly cuts through the noise. And it's such a simple technique, and I'm surprised that more businesses aren't doing this, especially as we've moved to digital, that when I see customers who are doing it, it's like a joy, because it's something I do as well with my customers. So that's probably one of the things that I see the most. I've got a couple of other things, but I know Ronan's raring to speak as well.
Yeah, I think it is the beauty of having a product or a solution that you can use yourself in your sales and marketing. So I'll jump into Drift as well and see what sort of customers are coming onto our site, or what industries or countries, and then create a playbook to test out that audience. I think it's great with the amount of reporting and data that you can get, but I think more importantly is what you can actually do with that, and to have a platform like Drift that I can use as a marketer to actually just test this out in real time, that I find is really, really cool. And yeah, the level of personalization we can get in there as well to say, identify, like, if Adam had been speaking to a prospect yesterday, that in that messaging we could be like, I noticed you were speaking with Adam yesterday. Do you want me to go and grab him now and bring him into this conversation? So I think that's, really, really cool.
Yeah, that is awesome. Now, go on, Adam. Sorry.
So my final thing, like every marketer I speak to, like every single person drones on about account-based marketing. Like comes up in every conversation I have. We need to do account-based marketing. We're running these projects, etc. And I think where we need to focus and what I encourage these customers to do, take it one step further than that. Don't just think about account-based marketing when you're thinking about an entire account. Think about account-based engagement. Think about personalized engagement with every single person in that buying committee, because they're the people who you want to be targeting. And so, again, I love talking about personalization. It's something that I get very nerdy about. When we start thinking about personalizing and how Drift will personalize based on those campaigns, bringing in the right rep, bringing in the right conversation, again, that's the thing that, going back to some of the previous questions, helps conversion and helps us know better about our customers so we can service them.
Yeah, I do know another case as well. Sorry, Tim. Where like levels of that personalization with, say, account-based marketing, looking at, say, if I was going after On24 and looking at you, Tim, as the decision maker, that you could look into who your sort of network is, like people you might even be friends with, or you might have your wife or something like that. You can actually include them in that targeting as well. So if you pop up with a conversation that we were looking at Drift, that your whole family already knows about it, then it sounds much, much bigger than you even realised.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I'm watching you guys. I did see a question just coming in around ABM. It sounds like you guys do have an ABM play between you guys, but the question is more around: is it possible with a small team? And it sounds like that's a great question for, I don't know, Ronan, if you're able to comment on that. But is ABM possible with a small marketing function?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I mean, like our marketing team is huge in my eyes. I think we've got over 65 people based out of North America, and then it's just me over here in APAC. But so obviously it's going to be on a much smaller scale. But again, I think that comes back to that collaborative planning process that you run with your sales team, and setting some realistic expectations there as well, that we want to go after these 5,000 companies. Well, that's not going to be realistic. Who would be, like, say, your top 50, and let's build a bit of a plan and a strategy around that. Let's prove that out and use some of the sort of funds that come out of that to fund this next campaign. So, having, again, that collaboration and open and honest feedback, but it's absolutely achievable for smaller budgets. And again, this is where I look at the foundations you got in place, and I put reporting in there as well, that you can be monitoring this on a, say, daily basis. As if this, say, campaign for these accounts is 10 times higher than the rest, then let's pause that and let's switch tactic.
Yeah, that's great that you got that visibility. Now, guys, we are approaching time, but we do have a couple more questions, and I encourage you guys, if you have any questions for Ronan, Adam, get them in now. We are running short on time, and we'll be wrapping up in just 5. But there's a couple of questions here, and I do want to just grab a couple and see if we can do a bit of a rapid-fire Q&A. There was one from Pete. I think this one's for you, Adam. It says, I'm curious, what is the best type of leads marketers produce, and what gets you the most excited? Do you have a response to that one?
I mean, simple answer is qualified leads. Like any qualified lead, I get quite excited about. But I think it really speaks back to what I was talking to before around customers who I think will be with me on a bit of a journey. So, I'm a consultant by heart. So for me, if a client has a business challenge, that's something meaty for me to work with them to solve. Whether it's even in Drift's toolset to do, I'm still kind of invested in that. And it could be the case that I'll invite Ronan in, because we had a customer who said this the other day. It's like, our advertising isn't working. How do we do this? And Drift doesn't do advertising, but if I can help them solve that problem, then that's going to get us towards a better customer outcome. So any customer who's super engaged with us, who's willing to actually open up and put their cards on the table and say, these are my challenges, this is where I need to get to, how do we get there? That for me is just a phenomenal opportunity to help that customer and to get them to where they need to get to. Because part of it's the business success, but also part of it's around developing better relationships with those customers and then helping them in future as well. And I think that ultimately is what the role of a good salesperson should be. It's someone who's outcomes focused, who focuses not only on the business, but also on the person, and helps that person to succeed in whatever career goals they've got as well. So they're the leads I like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's I like that response. There's one here from is this Troy is asking around more the late stage opportunities and what is the question is how can marketing better support some of these late stage opportunities? I think it does talk to some of this conversion. I kind of like the this idea of taking markets downstream and taking salespeople upstream, but anything to add for Troy here? What are some ways that marketing can help support the bottom end of the funnel of that sales process?
So from my perspective, it's keeping Ronan informed. So if Ronan knows that I'm working with some customers and they're approaching sort of the later stages of their sales cycle, then at the top of the funnel, he's doing a bunch of case studies. He's working with customers. He's sending campaigns. I can then provide relevant information to him. At the same time, it's usually people like a CMO who's actually purchasing Drift. And so, again, towards the later stages of the sales cycle, sometimes it helps to actually bring in a marketing professional like Ronan to just have a marketing heart-to-heart together, right? Like, go off, have a chat, have a coffee, and really get to the heart of what their goals are, what their objectives are. Take all the selling, take all the drift out of it, and just have a conversation. So for me, it's involving marketing, just keeping them transparent. And if our goals are aligned, they should want to help anyway.
Yeah, that's good advice. Anything to add there, Ronan?
No, I think that's spot on. But I think, like we're in a unique situation where we're marketing and selling to marketers as well. So maybe not everyone on the webinar will be in that situation, but I think like Adam said as well, marketing being able to work on, say, case studies that are not only going to help the sales process, like create that sort of credibility, but you might extract a gem from a conversation that you've had in that case study that then if the salesperson is working on, say, a deal and they're saying they're facing this issue, that I could be like, well, we just did this case study last week with this customer, maybe get those two together so they can have that chat as mutual customers as well. So I think that's another thing that can definitely help.
Yeah. No, I think that's bang on. Cool. There is a couple more questions, but I think we've got time for maybe one more. There is one here, which I'm not sure if it's directed to sales or marketing here, but one tool that you guys couldn't live out without. Maybe one from each of you to wrap things up.
I'll let you go, Adam.
I mean, I'm going to say Drift, right? Like, I've got to say Drift. Genuinely,
that was
being notified when my customers are on the account, when being able to more effectively outbound, Drift is essential. I'll give you a non-Drift answer, though, because, I think that helps. I'd say it's either a toss-up between something like Gong, which does all of my call recording and action items and other things, or Google Docs. I like I say, I like to share everything with customers. So if I'm writing presentations and business cases for those customers, I like to do it collaboratively, and Google Docs is a great place to do that. So one of those two.
Yep, a few good ones in there. What about you, Ronan?
It's going to sound biased, but yeah. I mean, I can attest to this from the fact I was on a customer end and I was implementing it, and now that I've got full access to it and see everything it can do, it's critical. But again, I'll go with a non-Drift one to support that. I'd say probably Apollo. I think it's a really cool tool for building your database or your prospects, and that you can then have that sort of integration with outreach programs and also ad targeting as well. So I find that's a really, really cool tool to put into your sales marketing tech stack.
Oh, cool. I haven't heard of that one, so be sure to check it out, eh? Very, very good. Well, gents, we are at the top of the hour, we are out of time now, but I do want to thank you both for being here and sharing, just giving us a bit of a peek behind the curtain as to what's happening at Drift in terms of sales and market alignment. Absolute pleasure to have both marketing and sales here today, and thank you both for your perspectives and your advice around the subject. So thank you again, and for our audience today, thank you so much. We'd love to hear feedback from you. We do have a survey that will pop up to the right-hand side. Please let us know how we're doing and how we can improve as well. But for now, thank you. We'll see you on the next episode shortly, and you have a great rest of your day, great rest of your week. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.